中华民国已经在台澎金马落地生根，和中华人民共和国互不隶属。中华人民共和国无权代表台湾。身为总统，我的使命是维护国家生存发展，团结2300万台湾人民，并且坚持国家主权不容侵犯并吞。
Taiwan's president sends a clear message to Beijing in his first National Day speech today, October 10th. Welcome to a special recording of Taiwan Talks on Taiwan's double 10th day. I'm Ika Vat. Taiwan is one of the world's most complex and sensitive geopolitical issues, and those complexities couldn't be clearer than on this day. Lai Ching-te, who was democratically elected in January as president to lead the country, has been criticized for emphasizing Taiwan's autonomy. But Lai believes this is necessary to push back against an increasingly aggressive Beijing, which claims Taiwan and has not ruled out taking it by force. On Double 10th National Day, critics continue to say Lai, speaking about the ROC's sovereignty, is confrontational and provocative to China. But who is to judge that? Joining us today to discuss this are Chen Ming-chi, National Tsing-Hua University Institute of Sociology Associate Professor, and Titus Chen, National Chengchi University Institute of International Relations Research Professor, and Alexander Huang, Council on Strategic Wargaming Studies Chair and Kuomintang International Affairs Director. A very warm welcome to all of you on the show today.
Thank you for having me.
So, Professor Chen, let me start with you. Yeah. What was your impression of how Lai treated China in his speech?
Well, Lai is a leader who unites, not a leader who divides. So this is the same message. First, he began by paying homage to the mother who sacrificed their life in seeking to establish a republic of freedom and democracies. So by doing that, he wants to send a message that he wants to unite the people. He knows that people have a different identity. So this is first united internally. That's very important. And
So the different identities, just for our international audience?
Well, many people who think identify more. As at the very end of his speech, he also mentioned about no matter it's Taiwan, you identify with Taiwan, with the Republic of China or Republic of China, Taiwan, then we all should unite to resist the aggression from the authoritarian regime. I think that is a fundamental message that he wants to deliver in this speech. And secondly, I think he's more assertive in his defense of Taiwan's ROC's sovereignty. That's very clear by mentioning many times. But he also is more reaching out to China by inviting them to join effort in fighting the climate change, prevent the disease from spreading, and also, most importantly, to maintain the peace and stability in Taiwan Strait. I think the core message he wants to deliver is this. Of course, a lot of internal policies, including to the youth, to different generation. I think he wants to unite different generation, different identity, different regions of different industries.
Right. So, Alex, we heard from Professor there about Lai being quite strong on autonomy. We said it in the introduction as well, about that he feels that we should be pushing back and talking about Taiwan's sovereignty. What's the view of the opposition KMT?
I think apart from the previous administration, DPP administration, President Lai extended his narrative. He started with the, on this very national day, he emphasized the republic has been established for 113 years. And in the previous DPP administration, we got a feeling that they focused on the 75 years that the country had been set foot on this island. So I think he tried to change the narrative a little bit from we used to know one China, one Taiwan, to two Chinas, as he stated that the Republic of China and the People's Republic are not subordinate to each other. So that's a minor change, but But
So do you think there's more about trying to get that unity that Professor mentioned?
Maybe for domestic audience, yes, because when the Republic was established 113 years ago, it was established on the mainland. And during that time, Taiwan was under the colonial rule of Japan. So I think it's a message also to the other side of the domestic audience and try to recognize that the Republic has such a long history.
Right. And so I understand also, though, that the opposition has been critical of Lai. They have termed this concept a two-state theory.
I think two-state theory is the terminology that used by Beijing. The KMT had never used the two-state theory to describe the state of the relationship across the Taiwan Strait, or President William Lai's remarks. We believe that the Republic of China had been in existence for 113 years, of course. So we have a different interpretation about the constitutional sovereignty, and we understand that President Lai talked about people's sovereignty or citizen sovereignty. And that's the domestic debate. I think it does not affect the reality that we in Taiwan, that we want to defend our democracy, we want to defend our country, and glorify our republic in different ways.
Right. And so Titus Lai Ching-de believes that it is necessary to push back, to talk about sovereignty, to say that Taiwan is not part of China. What was your view about the speech?
Well, I think President Lai is still in the process of unveiling his vision and his strategy for Taiwan's China policy. So only time can tell. But compared to his predecessor, former President Tsai Ing-wen, President Lai has been more outspoken. He's more direct and he's more assertive in his stance on cross-strait relations. And that certainly would spark critical responses from the other side of the strait. So from my observations, I think his message so far has been consistent, but his message also seems to me, his message to China has been shaped by this interplay between his political ideas and Taiwan's international circumstances or international reality. And perhaps the influence of the United States also plays some role in his today's speech.
So do you believe that Washington, how would they receive the speech today?
According to a newspaper that I read, on Washington Post, they say it's no justification for military action around Taiwan. That is the basic idea. So I think it's a continuity of President Lai's predecessor, President Tsai's stance on the cross-strait issues.
Right.
I think not much change.
Alex, do you think that Beijing would read it that way? Is there not no reason for being provoked? No reason for example, launching 2024B military drills around Taiwan?
I think today is 2024. If we go back to the President Bill Clinton's era, he did say that the United States oppose or do not support Taiwan independence or one China, one Taiwan, or two Chinas in Shanghai in 1999. I know that the circumstances has changed, but Beijing has not changed their position. So I agree with two other professors that it's up to Beijing to determine that how they're going to react to President Lai's speech today, and especially during a critical time before the United States presidential election.
And you actually said in your analysis that you believe that Lai was saying that there were two, in effect, he's talking about two Chinas.
Yeah,
So this would be an improvement, would it not, from the assessment of his inauguration speech? Is that correct?
If we consider C and T are surnames, and I think at least the two Chinas are both named C, share the same surname. But today is not the time to debate whether the two Chinas or one China, one Taiwan issue. I think it's the reality that Taiwan needs to maintain. We have already done our part, and I think the United States expected that all parties in the region will maintain peace and stability in the Taiwan Strait.
In the past 2 weeks, several well-known Taiwanese celebrities, including Golden Horse Award winner Wu Kangren and singer Deserts Chang, congratulated China on the 75th anniversary of the People's Republic of China. Both referred to China as their motherland. At a concert for National Day last week, Lai said that it was impossible for the PRC to be Taiwan's motherland. Take a look.
最近，我们的邻居中华人民共和国10月1号刚过完75岁生日，再过几天，中华民国就要过113岁生日。因此，就年纪来说，中华人民共和国是绝对不可能成为中华民国人民的祖国，反倒是中华民国可能是中华人民共和国75岁以上的民众的祖国。但是如果有人要祝贺中华人民共和国生日快乐，特别祝贺词要精准，切勿用祖国2字。
In September, Lai Ching-te said that if taking Taiwan was about territorial integrity, it should also take back land that Russia took in the 1958 Treaty of Ai-hun. Titus, let me come to you. Why does Lai think it's important to push back on CCP's narrative?
Well, going back to those celebrities' comments, glorifying or even identifying with PRC, some commentators suggest that President Lai's reference to the motherland or his motherland theory is aimed mainly at Taiwanese society, Taiwanese public, rather than at China or international community.
But I mean, I guess my question is saying that that narrative has actually been consumed and repeated by, for example, Taiwanese. It's still part of China's narrative.
Yes, indeed. And, well, President Lai's message through his counter-narrative, well, I think he's perfectly aware that even as a president of Taiwan or as ROC president, there's pretty little thing he can do, or literally nothing he can do, to stop those industry or entertainment industry people from identifying with PRC. That's their liberty. They are at their liberty to do that.
And they live in a democratic country.
Yes, indeed. So instead of targeting those people, he was actually working to strengthen a sense of identity or self-identity among the people in Taiwan. So he was actually encouraging people in Taiwan to embrace our distinct national identity and a cultural heritage. It is indeed a very complex identity, but it is an identity that is different from PRC identity. And he was emphasizing, highlighting that identity and hoping nationals, people will rally behind him on this idea.
Right. Professor Chen.
Yeah, I want to especially draw attention to, he mentioned about ROC many times. During the event of the National Day celebration event, and also this morning, I think he mentioned deliberately mentioned about ROC. I think that is for him to, as Titus say, to forge a kind of national identity in Taiwan. That is, as he mentioned at the very last paragraph of his speech this morning. Taiwan, ROC, Taiwan, we are all the same. We are all the same in united to fight against the aggression on our democracy and democratic way of living and our freedom.
And so do you believe that, as China gets increasingly aggressive, gets increasingly, assertive in terms of wanting to take Taiwan back,
yes.
Do you think it is important to push back?
It is. It matters a lot in terms of what we are fighting for. We are fighting for our democracy, not fighting for any ideology. We are fighting for our freedom. I think that is the content of this new identity. I will call it, probably ROC Taiwan identity. So combine these two elements, merge into one, and call for unity among our people.
Right. Alex, a local branch of a international think tank, however, did come out with a report not long ago where they did criticize or essentially lay blame on Lai for increasing tensions. We know that's exactly what Beijing has said also leading up to today. Why is it that it tends to be the blame put on Taiwan or somebody like Lai, obviously the president of the country, but there doesn't seem to be that much focus on China itself?
There are two parts of this question, or my answer. Number one is that whether the fact on the ground, the other is who to blame. I think the reality on the ground is that the tensions across the Taiwan Strait have been increased since 2 years ago, immediately after Speaker Nancy Pelosi's visit. So the tension had been growing so far, and that's the reality. But on the other side is who to blame. Of course, we have no intention to challenge, militarily against the PRC. And PRC had exercises. Their so-called combat readiness patrol along the perimeter of 24 nautical miles since April 2023. And they conducted another exercise only 3 days after President Lai's inauguration. So I think it's very clear for the international audience to identify that who is to blame.
Let's talk about, Titus, the 2024 B joint sword, which is what analysts say. They expect that Beijing will take Lai's speech, say that it's a provocation, and then launch these military drills. Do you believe that they will do that, or are there reasons why, it might not be a good idea to have Taiwan in the spotlight before a US election?
There might be some military operations around Taiwan or in Taiwan Strait from China, probably not under this label of Joint Sword 2024B, but I think military exercises are right now, it's a daily operation, and it's getting routinized. So I think it's a gesture from China. It's a gesture of protest or disapproval or even contestation to President Lai's remarks, including today's speech about how he understands, how he characterized cross-strait relations. And these exercises, the military exercises, they're, presumably designed as a message of disapproval, telling the new government in Taiwan that Beijing is watching. And Beijing does not accept how Taipei characterize the nature of China-Taiwan relations. So it bears upon the issue of national identity, goes all the way back to that issue as well.
Right. And Professor Chen, if China were to carry out drills, how do you think that might be seen in the international community? We've just established that you think that Washington would be perfectly happy with Lai's speech.
I don't say that would be perfectly happy about the speech, but I think this is mostly to send a reassurance message to the international audience, and also I think speak a lot about the domestic audience too. But I think if China raise the military tension in this region, is to their own peril, because I think they want to boost their economy, and by doing the military exercise, or we can call it they advertise. Anyway, they are going to conduct the military exercise every year at this time. So if they want to advertise and blend it as a drill targeting the speech, then I think it will only prove yet again China is not really serious about its own economy, but they care very much about to sort of have their way in the Taiwan Strait. So I don't see that is very beneficiary to China's position.
Alex, what do you think? How does China benefit?
Well, the PRC had already normalized so-called combat readiness patrol surrounding Taiwan for over a year already. It's a constant feature that we experience on a daily basis.
So you don't think that they would escalate that into something bigger?
But if they escalated or even get into the so-called Joint Sword 2024B, well, that would be another October surprise before the U.S. elections. It is up to their wisdom and choice to determine whether they wanted to do that before the U.S. election.
So you see inherent
I'm watching
danger.
them. I'm watching them.
You're watching them.
Yep.
So you see inherent danger in doing that?
Well, it may not work to Beijing's interest if they really conduct a large-scale military drill against Taiwan right after President Lai's National Day address.
And if you could just explain that October surprise incident from history.
Yeah, October surprise refers to the incidents and events that within the month before the U.S. presidential election that may have an impact on the votes.
And that was the year 2020?
Way before that.
Okay.
It was during the Vietnam War, in last century.
There was a more recent one, though, wasn't there, involving Mark Milley?
Mm-hmm. Right.
Which was and Trump, essentially.
Yeah, a lot of surprises already, including the hurricane and the other issue now happening in the United States.
Okay. Now, Lai also touched on global issues in relation to China. Watch this.
长期以来，世界各国支持中国、投资中国，以及协助中国加入世界贸易组织，促进了中国的经济发展、国力的提升。无非就是期待中国一起为世界带来贡献，对内重视民生，对外维护和平。当前国际紧张情势不断升高，每日皆有无数的无辜人民死伤于战火中。我们希望中国回应国际社会的期待，能够发挥影响力。和世界各国共同努力，结束俄乌战争和中东冲突，也和台湾一起承担国际责任，对区域和全球的和平、安全与繁荣做出贡献。
Titus, so on the simple level, we heard there that Lai was calling on China to help, to play a role in ending the conflict in Ukraine as well as the Middle East. What's the subtext to that message, though?
I think it's fairly interesting, and it's something new compared to the previous administration. President Lai touches the global issues in the context of Taiwan-China relations. He actually, to my understanding, after listening to his speech this morning, he actually acknowledges China's global power and influence when he urges China to wield its influence to end wars and armed conflicts in the world.
But why not? I mean, it's the truth, is it not?
It is a truthful statement, but I don't think, not to my knowledge, that former president has acknowledged China's global influence or its increasing, rising power in the world. And yet, somehow, President Lai does not avoid that truth or a condition. So I think the significance of his message lies in the vision he paints. Not only should the two sides of the Taiwan Strait avoid confrontation, but both sides should and could cooperate with each other to contribute to world peace, security, and stability. And well, that's once again something you do not hear or you do not find in former President Tsai's speeches.
So, Professor Chen, it's talking about partnership on some level.
Yes.
Did it mean anything further for you?
This is two different ways to protect the status quo. One is a very assertive defend our sovereignty, but I think President Lai's message, as Titus mentioned, a little bit new, is that he extended the invitation to China and asked them to be a partner of this important global issue, maintaining the peace and stability, not only in the Taiwan Strait, but around the world.
Alex, do you think what he meant on some level is that if China is going to be a peacemaker,
It's very interesting to me to see President Lai lecture Beijing and even give them assignment that you need to help resolve the Ukraine and Israeli Middle East problems. So I think, in our discussion, I think we should, chew more and spend the next few days to read and think about President Lai's speech.
But do you think that he was specifically targeting the Middle East and Ukraine, or was he actually saying, in a roundabout way, a peacemaker across the world needs to be a peacemaker across the Taiwan Strait?
Yeah, I think he implied that China should be a responsible stakeholder.
Also across the Taiwan Strait. Okay, thank you so much. Chen Ming-chi, Titus Chen, and Alexander Huang for joining Taiwan Talks today. If you liked our show, please search for us on YouTube, give us a thumbs up, and hit subscribe to our channel. Thank you for watching the show today. Stay safe and see you next time.